By introducing who's with me. To my left is Chief Hennessy from Jupiter Police Department, and to my right is Major Josh Kloster from Martin County Sheriff's Office. Shortly before 5 o'clock, we received calls from Jupiter Police Department that they were in pursuit of a wrong-way driver on US-1. We're standing on US-1 right now at the entrance of Jonathan Dickinson State Park. Immediately following that, we got information that the vehicle had crashed and that Jupiter police officers had pulled the suspect out of the vehicle. I'm sorry, they pulled him from the woods. He'd been ejected, and were trying to do CPR, and the suspect had then passed away once fire rescue got here. They determined that he was not alive. Also in this crash, which I'll break down how the crash took place, there were 4 others that were injured. We had a 6-year-old that had pretty significant injuries. They were lethargic. They were conscious and breathing, but lethargic, and had some internal injuries that they were concerned about, so they were flown to St. Mary's right after the crash occurred. A 4-year-old was also ground transported to St. Mary's, and 2 adults were injured, but thankfully for all 4 of them, it looks like, considering the impact, and I'm talking about a significant amount of impact, considering how bad this crash was, they will survive and hopefully make a full recovery. We're optimistic at that point. So what do we know about this? I'll tell you what I know. We know that at Broadway Street and US-1 in Riviera Beach, which is over 16 miles from where we're standing right now, Border Patrol was driving southbound on US-1, just minding their own business, and happened upon a wrong-way driver, our suspect, driving at a high rate of speed right at them. Not because they're law enforcement, we don't think, just because they were just driving. So they did a U-turn and they started trying to stop the suspect, who was not stopping. They were continuing to drive at a high rate of speed. And so Border Patrol started reaching out to the local agencies. They contacted Juno Beach Police Department, which got involved in the pursuit. Juno Beach handed off to Jupiter Police Department. And let me stop right there. Jupiter did a phenomenal job doing exactly what you'd expect a law enforcement agency to do, putting themselves in harm's way and trying to stop a bad guy from killing somebody on US-1. Jupiter was involved from the south end of their jurisdiction all the way to where we are here in Martin County, trying to stop this suspect. At the bridge, the suspect went across the bridge, again, in the wrong lane of traffic. And let me be clear about that. That's 16 miles of US-1. He drove the wrong way, all 16 miles. And at the bridge, Jupiter was able to throw out stop sticks. They deflated 1 tire. The suspect tried to run one of their officers over and then continued northbound until he entered Martin County and eventually struck 2 of our innocent civilians that were driving southbound, struck them head on. Then he veers off and crashes into the woods back here. Car burst into flames, and car burned to the ground. Suspect was ejected. They did CPR, and he's since passed away. We don't know who the suspect is. The car, we did get a tag off the car before it burned completely. It comes back to a lady down south, an older lady. We have no idea who our suspect is. We've tried to run him through some fingerprint analysis, which we've not been able to get anything conclusive, and we've got no driver's license. So again, we're proud of the work that Jupiter Police Department did, trying to stop somebody that was a threat to our safety at large. And so moving forward, this is what we have. Martin County's here holding down the scene. Jupiter, because of the pursuit, and then there's a death at the end of the pursuit, are working through their internal investigation. They have their investigators out here. And FHP is here with their traffic homicide investigators and taking the lead on the crash itself. So let me kick it to you for questions.
So is there anything significant that you see in the car, any signs of alcohol or anything that might be in the car? What can you see from the car?
The car is burned. There's nothing identifiable in the car. The tag's burned off of it. Everything in that car is charred. The car did briefly catch some of the woods in Jonathan Dickinson on fire. Their Jonathan Dickinson employees came out and put the fire out along with fire rescue. So this was a chaotic scene. If you can look behind me real quick, there's a battery that's probably 300-400 yards from the impact of the crash laying in the middle of the road. It kind of highlights the speeds at which our suspect was traveling before they struck our 2 innocent civilians. So this is one of these scenarios where we're thankful that our innocent people didn't get hurt worse. You know, the children we're concerned about, but we're really optimistic. And the suspect died. The suspect did that to himself, though.
So I guess it's safe to say that the 911 calls just started coming in with the wrong-way driver. Is that how we got onto that, or?
They did not come into Martin County because they were south of our jurisdiction, and they just barely got into our jurisdiction before he crashed and died. Talking to both Jupiter Police Department, police officers, and the Border Patrol agents, there was multiple crashes that took place along the way, mostly minor crashes. Border Patrol agent that I spoke to said that there were mirrors flying, but there were a lot of minor crashes that took place south of our jurisdiction that I don't even know if they were called in. And then we had this major incident that happened here in Martin County.
What kind of speeds do you think he was running going the opposite way for about 16 miles?
We don't know. Again, Border Patrol was paralleling him initially, and I asked them that question, and they weren't sure. They were so fixated on trying to keep up with him, but they said at times he was moving so fast that they could not keep up with him, and they were flowing with traffic, and our suspect was going against traffic. So you can tell by looking at this scene, we're talking about a crash that took place almost a quarter of a mile behind me, and there's pieces of it that are further north than where we are. So we're talking about, it's safe to say we're over 100-mile-an-hour in impact at this crash scene.
So if you turn around, the car over there, what's left of that car, is that the suspect's vehicle over there, that white? It looks like a SUV type thing.
So the burned vehicle is the vehicle that the suspect was driving. We don't know whose car it is. We know who the owner of the car is. We don't know the relationship of the suspect to the owner of that car. But again, that car, you can't even tell what kind of car it is. We've had to go back and try to figure out the make and model of that car. And then the other two cars up the road, thankfully, were larger SUVs. Both of them took a significant impact, but the size of the car and the technology in the cars, I'm sure, saved the occupants of those cars, or we'd be dealing with multiple fatalities out here.
And speaking of that, the children, did they come from one car, the victims of the children, or from two different cars?
I don't know. I know fire rescue was a chaotic scene when they got here, and they were just triaging and transporting. So they landed the helicopter just north of us and took the worst one out. And again, once they got him to St. Mary's, they were able to determine that some of the abdominal pain wasn't as severe as initially it looked like. So we're thankful and we're optimistic for full recovery.
Okay, so now we know this road is closed, southbound, northbound. What's next here?
Jupiter is going to work through their internal investigation, and let me go back as the sheriff of Martin County and thank them for doing their job. They did exactly what law enforcement's asked to do. They put their lives on the line to try to stop a wrong-way driver. And I know he died, that's on him. But Jupiter did their part to try to stop him from killing anybody else, so we appreciate their part. But they've got to go through and do their own internal investigation. There's a lot of policies that are involved here, pursuit policy, use of force policy. They've got a death that they've got to investigate on their end. So they're going to do their own standalone investigation, and then FHP is going to work the fatality side of it, the crash part of it. And then we are going to try to help them piece together whatever information we can, and we're going to keep the roads closed for them.
And just to be clear, Border Patrol was involved because they too were trying to stop a wrong-way driver. Is that correct?
That's correct, and there has been some misinformation on that. It came out initially that they were chasing an illegal. That is not the case, according to what we've learned so far. Again, this is new in the investigation, and it looks like they truly were driving